Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Update your chromatography data system pain-free for long-term success. I am Kaylee Bach of LabRoots and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Today's educational web seminar is presented by LabRoots and brought to you by Thermo Fisher Scientific. To learn more, visit thermofisher.com. With that, I'd like to now welcome our speakers, Zoe Julian, Product Marketing Manager, Chromatography Software, Thermo Fisher Scientific, and also joining us, Shakeil Akhtar, Senior Engineer, Field Applications at Thermo Fisher Scientific. Now, unfortunately, Shakeil is unable to join us for the live Q&A today. However, Zoe will be happy to take live questions following the presentation. So we encourage you to submit your questions, any questions that you may have during the presentation. To do so, simply type them into the Ask a Question box and click Submit. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation. Also, if you experience any technical questions, you can utilize this Q&A box and we will assist you directly. Now, for a complete biography on our speakers, please visit the Biography tab at the top of your screen. We will now begin the presentation.
Hello, and thank you for the introduction. So as mentioned, Shakeil and I are going to discuss how you can update your chromatography data system pain-free for long-term success. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Any questions, please do submit during the presentation, and if we are unable to answer all the questions during the Q&A, we will follow up with you. So please do make sure that any questions or queries are submitted. So this is the agenda for the next 30 to 40 minutes. We will start with an introduction, looking at why upgrading is important, especially when it comes to our laboratory software. We will then spend time looking at the factors we need to consider when we approach upgrades. This will be followed by a review of how your CDS can assist with updates, and we will share details from a laboratory based in the UK who have documented how their choice of CDS helped with their upgrade procedures. We also have a section regarding support and services, so you can see how we at Thermo Fisher Scientific can support you with any CDS updates before we end with a summary and resources. So let's now start with a quick introduction. So why should we consider upgrading our CDS? Lab software is like any other technology. Technology progresses, it becomes obsolete, and it falls out of support. We understand there are practical challenges that come with upgrading laboratory software, but the benefits an upgrade can provide does outweigh these. Now, some of the key reasons as to why you may need to update your CDS are shown here, and I'm sure that some may resonate with you. It may be that your current laboratory software no longer meets your needs. The lab environment is ever evolving. You may find that your lab is expanding and having an old version of software no longer meets your requirements. Whilst the CDS was good enough in the past, automation and doing more with less has never been so important. With continuous updates to regulations, you may find that you are not meeting regulators' requirements. You may find that whilst applying with new regulators, such as the FDA, that you are not meeting their requirements, and so upgrading may just be the key to help you meet this. You may have also had recent audit findings which have found weaknesses in your current setup. It may also be that you find that you have inadequate support with an aging software. With older CDSs, you find that you have no access to software or security updates, and support from the vendor may become obsolete as expertise move onto the latest CDS versions. It may also be due to an outdated environment. Changes to the computer environment, for example Windows compatibility or your CDS not being supported on current operating systems, may be the driver that creates your need to update. In order to meet IT policies and infrastructure needs, a CDS can be out of support if not supported on the latest operating systems. And we find this is the most common reason for upgrades, and we are here to show you how we can assist with this if a CDS upgrade becomes necessary in your lab to be supported on the latest operating systems. Finally, you may need to stay up to date with the latest features. You may currently have many manual processes impacting productivity. As a CDS develops, there may be new features which allow previous manual tasks to become automated, which helps improve efficiency and reduce human error. You may also have multiple data systems currently to support all the techniques that you utilize. Included in CS updates may be additional drivers, which can help support multiple equipment and can allow you to standardize on one software, reducing your CDS overheads and any training requirements in your laboratory. So I'm sure you can see that there are many reasons as to why you may need to upgrade. So we can understand why we may need to upgrade, but there are also a number of considerations to think about when approaching CDS updates or perhaps a migration to a new CDS. So now I would just want to look at some of these factors in more detail. With an update of a CDS, lab managers must choose an upgrade approach, collaborate with their organization's IT department, and manage regular lab operations during the transition. There is a lot to consider, and unfortunately, updating a CDS is not as simple as updating our phones or games consoles. I've listed here several things to consider and what I would say are the most important factors to think about when considering a CDS upgrade or migration. Firstly, and most often the main one, is costs. Upgrading may consist of new hardware infrastructure, which can be expensive, including the cost of operating systems or license purchasing, as well as any new equipment that may be required if the current equipment is old and not compatible anymore. We also need to think about the configuration. This can cause issues, especially if it is a large network environment, or if due to IT and global policies, there are a lot of restrictions due to the security or nature of the work performed at your laboratory. That can cause issues when trying to configure a CDS environment. So we'll speak through all of this with you during any upgrade processes. We also need to think of any disruptions in the lab. It is important that you can continue to work as normal, and you do need to consider business continuity. You may be sat there thinking, how long does an upgrade take? And it is a very good question. Upgrades depend on the size of the CDS installation. As a guide, based on a 2 to 3 app server setup, this can usually take 3 to 4 days with the inclusion of paperwork provided or the infrastructure is in place and configured correctly. Now note, this does not include time taken for planning or any additional tasks like training, for example. But during an upgrade, we understand that business continuity is paramount. So at Thermo Fisher, any upgrades are performed in a way that minimizes disruption to the laboratory and allows a very smooth transition from the old environment to the new one. Another factor to consider is the risk of not accessing legacy data. As a CDS becomes dated, and if regular upgrades are not performed, you may be at risk of not being able to access older data, especially when the new database schema are upgraded to be compatible with the new version. It is important to discuss this as any part of an upgrade to ensure you can access data with no issues. We also need to think of validation. If you work within a GMP lab or a GMP environment, simply upgrading your CDS may not be enough. You may want to consider validating your hardware and the software to make sure it meets your requirements and is fit for purpose. In addition, training should be considered. Now, usually when upgrading, you may not require huge amounts of training, as you may already know the CDS very well, or perhaps not all of the new features are relevant for your laboratory. However, if you are new to the CDS, you should consider the training options that are available and what the learning curve could be for understanding and familiarizing your team on this new CDS. Finally, we need to think about the vendor's reputation and support. You always want a vendor who is trusted, and at Thermo Fisher Scientific, we have been delivering a world-class CDS for a long time. We pride ourselves on our customer service, and as a leader in science, we always deliver an exceptional customer experience. It's important you look at the support that your vendor can offer. For our enterprise customers, we offer a support contract, which allows you access to a dedicated informatic page and dedicated technical support team. And we will share more details on this later. But again, when you are speaking to any vendor, make sure to ask these questions and see what support is in place for you. It really is important to not just think about what you need from your CDS now, but what you will need in the future. And a modern CDS can really future-proof your laboratory. So another factor I want to discuss is long-term support. Now, long-term support refers to a stable release of software that is maintained for a longer period. Now, looking for a CDS with long-term support can reduce your maintenance costs. They've been designed to be stable and reliable, so it limits the need for continuous updates and removes the need to maintain multiple versions of software. It can also help ensure support for a longer period and maximize security. When selecting a CDS, it is important to consider not only features and capabilities, but also the reliability, longevity, ease of maintenance, upgrades in the future, and the long-term value. So as an example, we have many versions of Chromeleon CDS, but some of them become what we call the long-term support branch. And this basically means that the version selected for long-term support, which is normally a very stable version, will be supported further into the future, so 5+ years more than other versions. This allows developers to focus on one version of the software and improves this version instead of releasing new full versions of software which may not be necessary. We may on occasion also release maintenance updates, and these are designed to pick up and address any bugs or issues for versions that may not have been made aware or seen during the developments. Now, these are provided free to Chromeleon support contract customers, and Shakeil is going to discuss this in much more detail, so I will hand over to him now.
Thank you, Zoe. So my name is Shakeil Akhtar, and I am part of the ECDS implementation team in the UK and Ireland. I have a background in pharmaceutical development, where my specialty was tablet formulations. I've worked for Thermo for 9 years and spent 5 years working for the technical support team for HPLC, IC, Chromeleon, and SP. I'll now work with and focus mainly on Chromeleon enterprise upgrades and installations. Now back to the presentation. How a CDS can assist your upgrade procedures. Let's discuss. We have now seen why we may want to update our CDS and things to consider, but I wanted now to highlight how a CDS can assist in your update procedures. Even though upgrading your CDS platform may seem like a daunting task, it may be that upgrading is now a necessity. However, the good news is that Chromeleon 7 CDS contains numerous features to make the transition from older versions of Chromeleon, for example 6.8, a very smooth one, and helps to ensure further software upgrades in the future go smoothly if you were looking to migrate to Chromeleon. As mentioned before, accessing legacy data is very important, and within Chromeleon 7, you can mount Chromeleon 6 data sources, which allows for direct viewing of the data and corresponding results in the original format. This data can also be located or results can be tracked using the powerful injection query functionality. Upgrading can seem a big undertaking, but the data can be easily imported by dragging the data into the Chromeleon 7 data structure and then can either be maintained with the original results or reprocessed using the functionality available in Chromeleon 7. Also, when legacy data is stored or archived using the CMBX file format, these files can be directly imported within the Chromeleon 7 platform. This includes importing of the full data audit trails and electronic signatures. Direct mounting of Chromeleon data sources ensures data access and minimum disruptions in the laboratory. You can see on the slide that there are numerous other features in Chromeleon CDS designed to make upgrades smooth. Reduce costs for upgrades and implementation, significant discounts with upgrade part number, free upgrades for those with support and maintenance contracts. Regarding the cost, there is a significant discount with a specific upgrade part number when staying within the Chromeleon platform. Release strategy. Chromeleon CDS offers LTS branch. Chromeleon LTS offers you a peace of mind that your software is stable and will be supported. Supports latest OS, databases, and IT technology. Virtualized or cloud deployment fully supported. When it comes to the operating environment, Chromeleon is continuously developed to support the latest operating systems, databases, and IT technologies. Streamlined software deployment and management. Automated centralized rollout, updates, and qualifications. By setting maintenance windows within Chromeleon, you can plan out your rollout of updates and qualifications to minimize disruptions within your daily operations. You can also use this feature to run qualifications at a time of low capacity to ensure business continuity. Validation. IQ and OQ takes less than 10 minutes. Enterprise documents assist in implementation. Revalidation can take a considerable amount of time, but with the built-in procedures within Chromeleon 7, this installation and operational qualifications take less than 10 minutes. On top of that, the enterprise documents will assist you with the implementation and validation. Training. Familiar user interface and operation minimizes training requirements. E-learning training courses are also available. The graphical interface and operation is similar, reducing acceptance barriers. We provide 4 types of training. One is the administration training, which allows you to administer the software and manage the environment from a Chromeleon perspective. The second, third, and fourth are level 1, level 2, level 3, user training, respectively. Level 1 is a basic user training, which allows you to become familiar with the software and use it on a daily basis. Level 2 is more advanced and includes advanced integration and reporting, as well as other aspects. And level 3 is for mass spec user training. Zoe mentioned about the LTS and Chromeleon CDS release strategy being based on your needs. We have a wide range of customers with different needs. For example, current workstation customers and non-regulated customers in general prefer access to the latest technology and features as soon as available. New enterprise customers may also find they require new features adding to the product before it fully meets their requirements. Established regulated enterprise customers, however, prefer workflows in the software to remain stable for many years. Ideally, no new features, and especially no breaking changes to the workflow should be introduced. as this can drastically increase validation effort. Both groups need new drivers and new instrumentation, with the limitation that even new instrument drivers must not disrupt the workflow for regulated industries. Our solution to these contradictory requirements is to separate this into two separate release tracks with specific releases that are appropriate for one group or the other to ensure we can best fit our customer needs. So looking at the long-term support branch in more detail. So why do we have the LTS branch? We have many reasons. Some of them are as follows. Focus on stability minimizes the risk of security vulnerabilities. The focus for LTS release is to drive stability, so we will avoid high-risk changes to the software, allowing customers to validate their initial installation and add MUs to fix defects with minimum additional validation required. Regular bug fixes and updates in the form of LTS maintenance updates, MUs, fixes for critical and major bugs, no new features or functionality, may include new drivers, drive stability with no breaking changes, no architectural changes, and avoiding high-risk fixes. Once the LTS system is validated, customers can use it for an extended period. MUs require a much smaller validation process. A new long-term release is branched off a certain feature release, but then held stable for several years, and no new features are introduced to this branch. Instead, we release maintenance updates for the LTS release that includes corrections for any critical bugs. The maintenance updates may also include new instrument drivers. Applicability. Customers with active support and maintenance agreements, SMAs, can receive MUs suitable for customers who have verified that the functionality in the LTS meets their requirements. Customers with active support and maintenance agreements can receive MUs and the LTS branch, which is aimed at regulated enterprise customers, suitable for customers who have verified that the functionality in the LTS meets their requirements. There have been many improvements to the enterprise management and IT over the last few releases of Chromeleon CDS. Some key highlights are Chromeleon Administration Console can be accessed from any local or remote location, provides the ability to schedule system maintenance, automated rollout of software updates and qualifications. Remote system management. Users can now set maintenance windows and the Chromeleon schedule to define when a maintenance task is executed, and software update rollouts can be fully automated and set at a time that is best suited to minimize disruptions. The customers can also benefit from remote installation qualifications, virtualized or cloud deployments fully supported with the key-based licensing system. Go dongle-free now. Dongle-free licensing. There is no longer a need for physical dongles. This allows for full virtualization and is the same procedure for virtual, cloud, and physical installations. Windows 11 and Windows Server 2022. And now Chromeleon CDS is fully compatible with Windows 11 and Windows Server 2022. To check this, you can always refer to the list of supporting operating systems document, which is provided with every Chromeleon installation media. Owlstone Medical Limited is a great test case to demonstrate how easy and straightforward the installation and upgrade of Chromeleon can be. Owlstone contacted ECDS to upgrade their current version of Chromeleon from 7.2.10 to 7.3.2. I had 2 meetings with them to ensure the infrastructure they were going to use was adequate and ready for any upgrade. I provided all the enterprise documents, which are work instructions, for them to carry out the work, and once the work was complete, I had a final meeting with them to overlook the work performed and it was done perfectly. At this point, they were passed to our support team, where they were able to, having a support contract, have dedicated support and free access to new software versions and maintenance updates. Installations can be easily scaled up to meet most future needs, and a 15-fold increase in data processing and reporting speeds compared to previous software versions was seen. Now let's take a look at service and support. Enterprise support and services, we have you covered. Support plan available that covers all CDS support needs with dedicated technical support team and follow the sun support methodology. Get your support and maintenance agreement, SMA, and join the Chromeleon CDS community where productivity and uptime is always maximized. SMA benefits include free upgrades to all released Chromeleon CDS versions, security updates, support for new hardware and drivers, direct access to a dedicated CDS support team to resolve critical issues, guaranteed response times for fast resolution of issues, technical support via phone, email, and remote support software, online access to the CDS knowledge base, customer forums. Customers can communicate with each other to create a thriving online community. Our training experts will work with you to assess your learning requirements and provide recommendations. Transition and implementation services are also available from our global enterprise software services team to support you with a solution that is optimized for your organization. And with that, I hand it back to Zoe.
Yes, thank you, Shakeil. So we have come to the end of the webinar. I just wanted to quickly summarize what we shared today and just where you can go for more information. So we saw that upgrading software in the laboratory is an unavoidable action. Just like with our phones, we need to keep our CDS up to date. There are many reasons for this, whether it is changes to the computer or laboratory environment, inadequate support for an aging CDS, or the need for security updates or to stay up to date with the latest features and regulations. There are a lot of benefits that you can achieve from upgrading your CDS. However, we appreciate upgrading is not always that straightforward. Remember, your choice of CDS can ease your upgrade procedures. Remember to not look only at costs, but the services and support that can be offered from any vendor and any training that may be required. As we mentioned, the release strategy of the software is also important to consider. Now, we saw how Chromeleon CDS can help you stay up to date. We heard how one customer has been able to roll out updates and upgrades themselves, and how the latest software improved their workflows. We offer the long-term support branch, and the Chromeleon Administration Console enables automated centralized rollouts, updates, and qualifications. We have dedicated support and services teams to assist you throughout your upgrade journey. Now remember, it is important to think about the future and not just the now when it comes to your CDS. So if you would like more information on Chromeleon, please head to our website as shown here on the slide. We also have a Chromeleon University where we have over 300 resources, including many how-to videos, which you may find helpful, especially if you are new to the software. We would really appreciate if you could also fill out our software survey. Please scan the QR code or head to thermofisher.com/software feedback. It's really important that we can understand how you feel we can improve our software and your experience. So please do take a look and complete the survey. And with that, we would like to say a huge thank you for your time. We will now head to the Q&A, so please do submit any questions you have, or if we can help you with anything, you know how to contact us. Thank you again.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shakeil and Zoe, for your informative presentation. Welcome back, Zoe. We will now begin the live Q&A portion of the webinar. So we've already got a lot of great questions that are coming in, but if you haven't submitted any questions yet, please do so now. Just click on the Ask a Question box located on the far left of your screen, and we'll answer as many of your questions as we have time for. All right, so let's get started. Zoe, as I mentioned, we've already got a few coming in here. So this first one that I have for you asks, do you perform data migration tasks?
So it's a great question, and it is something that we often get asked, but unfortunately, due to the high sensitivity and confidentiality of the data being generated in your lab, the data will always remain the laboratory's responsibility. So we cannot perform any data migration tasks for you, but we will always offer guidance and recommendations for your data migration strategy. So we can certainly discuss this with you and try to assist, but it is not something that we would perform on your behalf.
Great, thank you, Zoe. Another question for you here. What operating systems do you support?
So with all installations of Chromeleon CDS, we provide what is known as the LOCI is what we call it. So it's the list of supported operating systems. And that document highlights all of the different operating systems that Chromeleon has been tested and validated within. So this is something that your account manager can share with you. So if you are interested in upgrading or moving to Chromeleon and want to check the compatibility with your operating system, please contact us and we can provide the details and the documentation you need for that.
Thank you. Now, do you provide CSV validation services?
So again, a great question, and something again that we do often get asked, and we can now quote for software CSV work in certain geographies. So this is a new service that we are starting to offer, and we currently have 2 packages available in the US and Canada. That are geared towards helping support customer validation programs for an enterprise deployment of Chromeleon. We are planning to run a webinar with LabRoots in May, so please keep an eye out for that for more details, because this is a new service that we are providing. We do also work with several preferred providers in other geographies. So for example, in the UK, we work with Qpliance. So again, please do reach out either to me or speak to your local sales representative who can provide more details and quotes if that is a service that you are after.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned e-learning courses. Can you elaborate on what exactly these are and where I can find out more information?
Yes, so these are new training courses for Chromeleon CDS, and something that I'm quite excited for. These are available on demand and were designed to provide accessible training for all users. So it can be a cheaper option to on-site training. And if, for example, you have a new analyst join your lab, you can buy training for that analyst and they have access to this new training platform for a year. So it's not just they take the course and it's done. You have access to that material for a whole year. There are 3 courses available at the moment. So we have basic user training, which is aimed for new users to the software, and that just kind of helps guide you through the application. So it gets you familiar with the Chromeleon software, and it goes through things such as sequence creation, method setup, how to do processing, and e-workflow procedures. We also have system administrator training, which is aimed for those who are responsible for the configuration and administration of a Chromeleon enterprise. So that covers the architecture and audit trails, and services manager for backup and restore features. So for anyone who is more of the administrator for the software, that's a really good course that we offer. And there is also an SDK, so software development kit training, for where you may be looking to extend the functionality of Chromeleon. So again, you can learn more on our website. Again, please contact me. If not, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Zoe Julian. I'm often sharing new things that we are doing, including the e-learning. So any questions or you want more information, please reach out to me, or again, your account manager.
Great, thank you, Zoe. Now, how do I know if my instruments are supported?
Yes, so again, one of the documents we provide during any kickoff meetings is the list of supported instruments document. And this shows all the instrumentation that are supported on the Chromeleon version you choose, as well as a full list of minimum firmware requirements to ensure the best connection to the software. Again, this is something that your account manager can share. So if you're interested in upgrading or moving to Chromeleon, and of course you want to check that it's compatible with your instruments, please contact your account manager or complete the form on our website, and someone will get back to you, and then we can share that information and look through to ensure your list of instrumentation will be supported.
Thank you, Zoe. And thank you to our audience for all these great questions
Yes.
coming in. We have time for a few more, so we'll continue. This next question I have for you asks, are the enterprise documents validated?
Okay, so this probably would have been more of a question for Shakeil, so I will try my best with this one. So they are not validated. With any enterprise installation, we share all of the enterprise documentation with you, which Shakeil mentioned in the presentation. These act more as work instructions, so they can be used by your IT department if they wish to do any of the work on their own, or we provide those documents signed upon completion of the work that's been performed. So you will have access, you are given all of the enterprise documentation, and if you wish to incorporate those into your validation testing scripts, you are welcome to. Again, that is something that we discuss on how the process and the documentation works, and that's something Shakeil or his team would work with you on. But no, the short answer is no, but we do share all that information with you.
All right. Well, we've got time for one more question here, so we'll wrap up after this one. Now, how much is an upgrade to Chromeleon?
Okay, again, something we get asked a lot, and this is probably one that I'll need to follow up with the attendee that's asked for this, because it depends on many factors. It depends what CDS or what version you're currently on, the size of your installation. So I need to know quite a bit of information to be able to give you a more kind of accurate answer. But as we mentioned in the presentation, we do have upgrade part numbers which are discounted, and we currently have a 60% off promotion. So if you are currently a Chromeleon user and you've watched this and you want to upgrade to the latest version, definitely take a look at the webpage for more information or speak with your account manager. So I will follow up with you on that one because I do need a little bit more information, but hopefully that kind of helps.
Wonderful. All right, well, that will conclude our session for today. Zoe, do you have any final comments for our audience?
I don't think so. Just thank you for joining. I appreciate lots of webinars, so we always appreciate your time, and thank you for the questions. It's great to have questions coming in and engagement from you all, so thank you.
Well, thank you again to Zoe Julian and Shakeil Akhtar for their presentations and for sharing their expertise on chromatography data systems. Also, a big thank you to you, Zoe, for joining us for the Q&A. We would also like to thank LabRoots and our sponsor, Thermo Fisher Scientific, for underwriting today's educational webcast. Now, before we go, I'd like to thank the audience for joining us today and for their interesting questions. Questions we did not have time for today and those submitted during the on-demand period will be addressed by our speaker via the contact information you provided at the time of registration. This webcast can be viewed on demand, and LabRoots will alert you via email when it's available for replay. We encourage you to share that email with your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. Upon conclusion of this webinar, a survey will pop up and your feedback is greatly appreciated. To all our friends out there, thank you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.